I still remember the sting of the cold pavement against my knees the night they threw me out. My mother didn't cry. My father didn't flinch. My brother didn't even look me in the eye. I stood there, holding a single duffel bag with some clothes and schoolbooks, the rest of my belongings tossed into a garbage bag like I was yesterday's trash. "You're 16. Old enough to find your own way," my father said. His voice was flat, like he was discussing the weather. "Girls are nothing but burdens anyway. Maybe you'll finally stop sucking our resources dry," my brother added with a snort. He was 19 then, already being groomed as the man of the house. I remember trembling, not from the cold, but from the sheer shock that people I had called my family could throw me out with such indifference. There were no tears in their eyes. No regret. Just annoyance. My mother's final words still ring in my ears: "Don't come crawling back when life spits you out." No man wants a mouth to feed. No one wanted me. Not the parents who raised me. Not the brother I used to sneak extra food for when he cried at night. I was 16, broke, heartbroken, and homeless. They didn't even let me finish my exams. I spent that night on a park bench, holding my bag like a lifeline, blinking back tears. Not a single neighbor intervened. Not a single friend's family offered shelter. My parents told everyone I was a rebellious, ungrateful girl who ran away. I knew no one would come looking for me. I could have spiraled. I could have become the tragedy they predicted. But as I sat there under the streetlight, I made a promise to myself. I would never beg. I would never crawl. And one day, I would make them eat every single word they threw at me like knives. Sleeping in the park that first night was terrifying. Every noise felt like a threat. Drunken laughter in the distance, the rustle of leaves, the sudden bark of a dog. I stayed awake all night, clutching my bag tightly, afraid to fall asleep in case someone tried to rob me, or worse. When the sun finally rose, the world felt no less cruel. My stomach growled, my eyes burned, and my legs ached from being curled up on a metal bench. But I had no time to feel sorry for myself. I had no home to go back to. No warm shower. No food waiting. And certainly, no love. I went to school the next day. I hadn't even showered properly, just used a public restroom to clean myself up the best I could. I walked in like nothing had changed, even though everything had. I was invisible anyway, just the poor girl from the modest house no one paid attention to. So, no one noticed when I stopped showing up for lunch. Or when my clothes grew more worn, and my eyes duller. At night, I moved from the park to the back of a library that closed late. The librarian, an older woman named Maggie, noticed me once and gave me a cup of tea. She never asked questions, just handed me the warm mug and said, "You look like someone who needs a break." That tiny act of kindness stuck with me more than anything my family had ever done. After 3 nights, I knew I couldn't keep living like that. I walked into a diner near the train station and asked if they needed help. The owner, Mr. Bennett, a gruff man with a potbelly and permanent scowl, looked me up and down. "You're 16, he said. "Yes," I replied, "but I'll scrub every table. Clean every toilet, do anything. Just give me a chance." He looked like he wanted to say no. But then he sighed. "We need someone to clean up after closing. You work late. No complaining. Cash only. Understand?" I nodded furiously. "Yes. Thank you." That job saved me. It gave me just enough money to buy a second-hand blanket, some basic toiletries, and sandwiches I rationed like gold. I still slept rough, but I was no longer starving. I still went to school. Still studied. I would not let them win. I refused. I worked 5 nights a week, cleaning up vomit and scraping gum off tables. Mr. Bennett never smiled, but he paid me fairly and didn't ask questions. Sometimes, he left a box of leftovers on the counter without saying anything. I think he knew. School was my sanctuary. I buried myself in books, always staying behind after class to use the computers or do extra credit work. Teachers began to notice my grades, and one of them, Miss Carter, called me in one afternoon. "Rachel, is everything all right at home?" I froze. "Yes. Everything's fine." She didn't believe me. But she didn't push. Instead, she offered something I never expected: hope. "I'm nominating you for a scholarship program. It's competitive, but I think you have the brains and drive for it. Would you be interested?" I blinked. Was I interested? This was the rope I'd been waiting for. "Yes," I said, "please." That was the first day I felt the faint flicker of a future. The first moment I realized I could rewrite the story they gave me. The girl they threw away? She wasn't going to disappear. She was going to rise. The scholarship application became my obsession. While other students gossiped about parties and dates, I pored over essays, practiced mock interviews, and triple-checked every document. I didn't have parents to help me. No address to put down. No emergency contact. Just me, a forged sense of confidence. And raw determination. Ms. Carter helped me quietly. She let me use her office printer, guided me through the forms, and even slipped me a used blazer for the interview. She never asked what happened at home. I think she knew it was too painful for me to speak about, and instead gave me what I needed most: belief. The night before the scholarship panel, I scrubbed extra hard at the diner. My hands were cracked from detergent, my back sore from bending. I went to the library afterward, where Maggie noticed the nerves on my face. "What's tomorrow?" she asked gently. I hesitated. "A shot." She smiled. "Then don't miss." I slept behind the library again that night, but I placed the blazer over me like armor. The next day, I walked into the scholarship interview like I belonged there, even though I felt like a fraud inside. My shoes were worn, my dress faded, but I held my head high. The panel asked hard questions: why should we choose you? What sets you apart from the other applicants? What's your support system like? To that last one, I paused, then replied, I don't have one. But I've built something better: discipline. Hunger. And the kind of resilience that doesn't come from privilege, it comes from pain. You won't find anyone else here more determined to succeed than me. There was a silence afterward. A long one. But I just knew, I had made them see me. 2 weeks later, I received the letter. Full scholarship. Room and board. Laptop included. I cried for the first time in months. Ugly, gasping sobs in the library restroom while clutching the acceptance letter like it was my lifeline. Because it was. Maggie was the first person I told. You did it, she said, handing me a small notebook. Inside the cover, she had written, to Rachel, so the world never forgets your story. One day, you'll be someone people write about. But don't forget who you are. I never did. Leaving the diner was bittersweet. Mr. Bennett gave me an envelope with $100 and grumbled. Don't screw it up, kid. That was the closest thing to affection he ever gave me, and I cherished it. That summer, I packed my few belongings into a duffel bag and took the train to a new city, a new life, a new chance. For the first time, I had a roof over my head, food every day, and no one to belittle me. I walked into that university with nothing but scars and ambition. But from that day forward, I began to build. University was a culture shock. My roommate had matching luggage sets, weekly care packages from her parents, and spent weekends going home for emotional recharge. Meanwhile, I had a single duffel bag, no family to call, and spent weekends in the library, working part-time cleaning lecture halls to make extra cash. But I never envied them. I wasn't there to make friends or fit in, I was there to win. Every class I attended, every assignment I turned in, was a brick in the future I was building. One where I would never again feel the sting of being unwanted, discarded, or homeless. One where no one could ever call me a burden again. I majored in business administration with a focus on finance. Numbers never lied, and I liked that. Money spoke in a way people couldn't ignore. I wanted to learn everything about it, how to earn it, how to grow it, and how to wield it like the power I never had as a girl begging for shelter. By my second year, I had a small savings account from campus jobs. By third year, I launched a side hustle, tutoring wealthier students who couldn't pass accounting but had more money than time. I charged premium rates and reinvested every cent. I learned fast. I worked harder than anyone. While others partied, I built. Graduation came quicker than I expected, and I walked across the stage to polite applause from strangers. No family in the crowd. No proud parents. No flowers or cards. Just me, and that felt more than enough. I walked off that stage already holding 3 job offers in finance firms. I took the most demanding one. Not because of the money, though it was incredible, but because they saw my hunger and said, "We want you to climb here." And climb I did. I worked 80-hour weeks, outperformed every benchmark, and rose through the ranks. While others whined about workload or office politics, I remembered sleeping on a park bench and smiled through it all. By 25, I bought my first apartment. By 28, I became a director. By 30, I launched my own firm. It was a small consultancy firm at first. I built a team from scratch, started acquiring smaller competitors, and reinvested aggressively. I made smart decisions, bold moves, and took risks no one else dared. Within 4 years, we were being profiled in financial magazines as the fastest-growing female-led firm in the city. And suddenly, people started knowing my name. Not as the daughter of or the sister of just Rachel. Independent. Resilient. Unstoppable. I had everything I'd ever dreamed of. Everything they said I wasn't worthy of. And then, one morning, my secretary walked in and said the words I never expected: "There's a man and woman in the lobby. They say they're your family. Your parents. They're asking to speak with you." My heart went still. I hadn't thought of them in years. And now, here they were, back like ghosts, just when my empire was too big for them to ignore. I stared at my secretary in stunned silence. My family. Here? After 14 years of silence. After throwing me away like trash. After calling me a burden, a waste of space, a disgrace for simply being born a girl. And now they were here? I felt a strange mix of fury and amusement rising in my chest. "Tell them to wait," I said calmly. "I have a meeting." I didn't. But I needed a moment to breathe. To compose. Because I refused to let them see even a crack in the woman I had become. I walked into my office and closed the door, my heels clicking on the polished marble floor. I stood at the window, looking down at the skyline I had conquered alone. Everything in this office, from the chandelier to the custom desk, I earned with sleepless nights and silent tears. Not 1 inch of it came from them. 10 minutes later, I told my assistant, "Send them in." They entered hesitantly. My mother clutched a worn handbag like it was a lifeline. My father looked thinner, smaller than I remembered, his bravado replaced with shame. My brother stood a step behind them, older now, but still wearing that same arrogant scowl. "Rachel," my mother whispered. "You look so different." I sat, legs crossed, fingers steepled. I should. It's been 14 years. Awkward silence. "We're not here to fight," my father said. "We need help." There it was. The mask slipped. They weren't here for me. They were here for salvation. I said nothing. My brother finally spoke. "Dad's business failed. We're in debt. The house is under foreclosure. We didn't know who else to come to. And suddenly, I replied, the daughter you threw away becomes a solution? My mother started crying. We made mistakes. We didn't understand. We were raised differently. You made a choice, I interrupted coldly. You didn't misunderstand. You devalued me. You discarded me. You made it clear I was nothing. My father flinched, but said that was wrong. We see that now. But please. We're drowning. There was a desperation in his voice that once would have thrilled the girl I was. But I wasn't her anymore. I'll help, I said at last, watching their faces light up. But not how you think. My father leaned forward, hope rekindled in his eyes. What do you mean? You'll cover the debt? Save the house? I smiled slowly, deliberately. I already did. Confusion flickered across their faces. My brother narrowed his eyes. You what? I bought the house, I repeated, folding my hands on the desk. Outright. Paid off the foreclosure, cleared the debt, and signed the deed, under my name. My mother gasped. You bought it? Yes. A week ago. As soon as your lender made it public. You see, in business, timing is everything. I knew you'd come to me eventually, crawling. So I made sure the house would already belong to me by the time you did. The silence in the room became suffocating. My brother stood, face red. You can't just, that's our house. Correction, I said coolly, rising to my feet. It was your house. It's mine now. Legally and fully. You should have read the terms before defaulting. My mother reached for me, her voice trembling. Please. Don't kick us out. We have nowhere to go. I tilted my head, studying the woman who once looked me in the eye and said, girls are a curse. Now she was begging that same curse not to make her homeless. I was 16 when you kicked me out with nothing but a school bag, I said quietly. No clothes. No food. No money. You turned your back on me without hesitation. So now I'll ask you a question I needed back then. I walked around my desk, stopping inches from her face. Where was your mercy when I was drowning? She broke down, sobbing. My father said nothing, just stared at the floor, defeated. My brother looked like he wanted to scream. I stepped back. I'll give you 30 days. That's more than you gave me. 30 days to vacate my property. After that, the locks change. Rachel. My mother whispered. We're family. No, I said flatly. Family protects. Family loves. You were nothing more than blood. And blood alone doesn't buy forgiveness. They left my office in stunned silence. As the door closed, I turned back to my desk, exhaling slowly. It wasn't revenge. It was justice. And I had earned every moment of it. The next 30 days passed in a blur. They moved out, slowly at first, then in a hurried panic as the reality set in that I wasn't just offering help, I was taking back the power they had once stripped from me. Every day, my mother called, begging me to reconsider, pleading for just a little more time. But I didn't respond. I didn't need to. They had all the time in the world when I was a child, and they chose to squander it. When I needed them, they chose to shut me out. Now, the tables had turned, and I was the one in control. The day they vacated the house, I drove by. I had no intention of going inside, but I wanted to see it one last time, the house where I had spent so many years of my life, years that felt like a lifetime of emotional suffocation. I parked at the end of the street, watching them load their belongings into a moving truck. They were leaving, but I wasn't sure if it was because they had learned anything, or if they just couldn't bear to live in the shadow of the woman they'd discarded.